It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I had the privilege of interviewing the Manhattan Valiants head women's lacrosse coach, Coach Arianna Kreush. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college women's lacrosse?
Yeah, so when I was a player, I unfortunately tore my ACL 3 times when I was in my playing career. So I spent a lot of time on the bench, not for my own choice in that matter. But with that being said, I thought I was going to go into a very different career path and be on the bench and especially my senior year. I had a really close relationship with my head coach at the time and making sure she was like, well, after you graduate, why don't you look into coaching some more and being a graduate assistant, which is a really great opportunity in collegiate sports. And then once I became a graduate assistant, I fell in love with it and haven't looked back since.
What was that experience like for you as a player coming to Manhattan and getting to play collegiately?
Yeah, so I actually was a dual sport athlete coming to Manhattanville. I was recruited for field hockey and also lacrosse and ended up playing both. But obviously, as you just mentioned, I had a lot of injury during my collegiate playing experience. So it didn't look like the normal collegiate playing experience, but it was really exciting. I think being a collegiate athlete helped me so much with my ability to be a student and balance a lot of things. And it definitely made my experience super special. And a lot of my best friends are still were my teammates. And I do a lot of what I do comes from the time that I spent as an athlete.
For you as a player, what was that experience like putting on that uniform and representing them?
Yeah, so as a Valiant, it was like I said, it was really special. I had the pleasure of putting on 2 different uniforms, so that's even more special. I was a goalie for field hockey and then an attackman for lacrosse, so the 2 different sides of the field too. But yeah, it's just like it's really special to go into the locker room and see it hanging up and then put it on, and you're just proud to be a part of that community.
After your collegiate time, what was it like getting into coaching and getting started?
Yeah, so I was super young and super green. So getting into coaching, I'm from Long Island and I actually moved from Long Island to Cleveland, Ohio area. And that was super exciting, but also super nerve-wracking too, and ex new experiences. And from just being a player to now having to lead girls that are almost my age, right? That are in the same experiences that I just went through. Um, it was really exciting and really nerve-wracking too, but it was a lot of 2 feet deep in the deep end. And I think that really set me up for success moving forward.
What was that experience like for you going to Whitman College and being an assistant coach there?
Yeah, so I moved after the Hiram in Cleveland. I moved out to Washington State. Whitman was really interesting because I coached a season with Whitman and then the world shut down and it was COVID times and it was 2020 and I was on the other side of the country from my family and my friends and all that stuff. And I had to really rely on my community that I built around there. And I had to help these girls navigate the earth-shattering and really heart-shattering time of your season is cut and you don't know if you're going to play collegiate sports again, too. So Whitman was a really, really great experience because I learned so much about the heartbreak and the importance of sports and just like being far away from my family too and being able to navigate that was one of really a pivotal point in my career and my life too.
How was that experience like for you going to Harmon and being the head coach for the first time in your coaching career?
Yeah, so when I got the call, I was super excited to go back to Hiram. Being a head coach is something that I knew I wanted to do as soon as I really fell in love with coaching. And I fell in love with coaching at Hiram as an assistant. So it was really special to go back and be the head coach for that program. That program was not in a great place at that point in time. And so it felt a little daunting, but also really exciting to take on a really big challenge. Um, and yeah, I'm really glad that I got that experience to go back there and try and help that program.
While at Hiram, what was some of the things that you were able to accomplish as head coach?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I was only there for a very short time, and our season was cut because we were on the back half of the COVID seasons. So we didn't play 2021 season. We had a few scrimmages here and there, but one of the most lacrosse is not a very popular sport in Ohio, and it's really grassroots still. And so one of the best things that I was able to do is do a lot of clinics and community work in that area too. So I would go out to all the high schools and I would do um, a lot of work with the community, trying to build lacrosse and trying to help spread that lacrosse and hopefully spread the name for our program as well. And so that's kind of the thing I'm probably most proud of at Hiram is just making a bigger impact in the community around there.
How was that experience like going to Purchase College and being their assistant coach there?
Yeah, so I purchased this in our conference, and so I after Hiram, I actually went back to Manhattanville, and that was a really exciting experience for me because it's my alma mater, and so I was really happy to get back to also New York, and that's where my family's from. That's where I'm from, so moving back to New York is something that was always in the back of my mind, and it kind of just happened sooner than I thought it would happen.
For you as a coach, what was that feeling like coming back home to your alma mater and being the next head coach?
Yeah, so getting the call that I got the job, I was not expecting that to be honest. And so it was really, really exciting to get that job. I mean, there's always that like I have to leave this program Hiram that I am building, and the connection that you make with the student athletes is so in deep, and that was really hard. But I knew this was the right opportunity. I knew I had to take this now, and um, coming back to your alma mater, it's really surreal driving onto campus for the first time as not a student or like an alumni coming back. And as an employee, it was really surreal. It felt like I got tingles. I like had the goosebumps, and it just felt like I was doing something that I really care about, and that I have a lot of heart invested in.
How was that feeling like knowing that you were now the 10th head coach in program history to be coaching at your alma mater?
Yeah, so I didn't even realize that it was 10 coaches, which is a lot and a little too. This program's been around for it's not an old program, but it's not a new program in any sense of the word. We're kind of like middle-aged, I would say. And so being the 10th coach is really exciting because I want to make a difference. And we've shifted conferences a couple times as a department. We've shifted who we play, and we've shifted kind of where this program falls. And my goal is to really make us better, and I want us to be super competitive in our region.
What were some of the biggest difference from your time as a player to now being the head coach at your alma mater?
Yeah, seeing how the sausage is made is good and bad at the same time. When you're a player, you show up to practice, you show up when you need to show up, and you don't really see all the work that goes in behind that. And you don't really see all of the different strings that get pulled on the back side. And so it's I have a deeper appreciation for my time now as a player because I am the coach, and to see all the hurdles that the coaches have to pass through, or what is possible and what is not. And so you definitely have a deeper appreciation when you come from being a player to a coach, and especially at your alma mater, because you see now exactly what was happening behind the scenes when you were a player, which you're very fortunate, and I was very fortunate as a player to not see all of the hardships that go along the scenes because I was having the best time.
How does it feel for you to put on that first coaching polo of your alma mater versus the last time you put on your lacrosse jersey for your alma mater?
Yeah, it's different being on the sideline. Well, I was on the sideline because of my injuries, but also being the coach and it's you can't play for them, so you can only give them as many tools as possible. And so putting on the polo and putting on the having the whistle and all that good stuff, you care so deeply and you want them to do so. You want them your kids to do well. You want your student athletes to do well. So it's definitely a different kind of caring where like as a player, you know that you have a lot of control over what happens because it's your own effort. But as a coach, you don't really necessarily have that control. You just have to set them up and hope that they succeed through that.
For you as a coach, what was that feeling like stepping back onto your field as the coach at your alma mater?
I think I teared up a little bit, to be honest. The first game, it was, like I said, very surreal. And I was very fortunate my first season. I had two assistants with me that were also alumni as well. And so it was really special to have like a true like Valiant family be a part of what we were doing. And it felt special. And I don't know a better word to describe it other than that.
As a head coach, how has that been like getting to build that alma mater coaching staff around you?
Yeah, so it's been really great. Right now on my staff, I have a full-time assistant and then I have two volunteer assistants, and my volunteer assistants are always alumni that came through the program. So it just shows that they want to come back and they want to give back to the program and they want to be somewhere where they feel good and they feel safe and they feel like they can make a difference. And that's something that to me shows success in itself as well.
As a head coach, what was that feeling like stepping onto that field for the first time?
Yeah, like I said, it was surreal. Like being being a head coach and you're calling the shots and it's nerve-wracking. I always get nervous for game days. Even all these years later, I still get nervous for game days, and I have my own routine. I set up our field, I put the goals out, and sometimes when it was snowing, I would get my shovel and I would shovel off the end line just to make sure that it looked great. But all those things kind of go into it, and um, it's exciting and it's nerve-wracking, all the same things that the players are going through. But you have to just trust that like I said, that you set them up for success, that you gave them all the tools that were possible in order for them to go out and use them.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've started to build for the women's lacrosse program at Manhattan?
Yeah, so our culture is, I love buzzwords. I love words in general, but we have three core values to our program, and that's character, commitment, and family. So good people make great teams, and that's just our character piece. Like you have to be a good person. And then that commitment piece, like making sure our priorities are aligned with everyone else's. So academics are a high priority, but also lacrosse and your personal family. So when we say family, that means your mom and dad and sister, brother, guardian, whatever your family looks like, and then also your lacrosse family. So a lot of people throw out that word family as kind of like oh, we are a family and we do all this stuff together. But that's something that is really important to me specifically because the Valiants were my family when I was in college. And so I want that for our student athletes that are on my team now.
What does a typical game day look like for you as a coach versus for your athletes?
Yeah, so for me, it's definitely going to look a lot different. Sometimes they're in class, if we're in a away game, we'll get lunch before the bus. They'll get on the bus and then we'll go. All that good stuff. They're sometimes doing homework on the bus, something like that. In the locker room, there's always a massive dance party. So they're blasting music and getting hyped that way. But for me, it's a little bit more low key. I have a dog, so I love to take long walks in the morning with my dog on game days, and then we kind of, if it's a home game, I'll come set up the field so I know it's set up well, and I love to be able to make sure that it looks great and it's ready for our girls, and then um, making lineups and making sure it's all set, and then really thinking about what I want to say to them before the game. Like, is it going to be about our opponent, or is it going to be like what we want to accomplish that day, or just what the overall vibe that we are looking for? Like, are we looking to go, um, we're looking to make each other proud, and we're looking to support each other on the field, and all of those things going through.
Can you talk about your culture and how you have built it?
Yeah, so it's been tough. So I when I was first hired, I was hired in the winter time right before my first season. So I was coming into a group of girls that like had a close t personal tie to each other already. They had their set ways. They knew what they wanted to do, and I was coming in as this new person who had played there, and they knew, but I never played with them, obviously, because I'm a lot older than they are. But um, there was, I had to kind of transition into what I wanted the program to be like and what I wanted the program to look like from what was already there. So, um, holding a lot of accountability that first season was really important to me, and making sure that we always say chase the feeling. Like, it feels great when you score. It feels great when you shut them down on defense. It feels great when you see your teammate not doing so well and you pick them up and then they go do something awesome, right? So all those feelings, we need to chase that feeling. And then building that culture from there on. I'm now my first recruiting class is now are now juniors, which are which is I can't believe that they're so old now. But continuing that as it goes through, and building leadership within them so that as they become seniors next year too, we have a solid foundation for our program of like what I expect, what I want to happen, and that family piece. And that's so super important.
Who are some of the teams in your conference that you compete against?
Yeah, so we compete in the Skyline Conference, which I love because that means that we're pretty tri-state local, which is nice. And so we play against like Maritime, the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, Farmingdale State. We play a lot of Long Island and Westchester teams. We'll go up to Mount St. Mary College. But yeah, we our Skyline Conference is a pretty competitive conference.
What is that home game atmosphere like when you have teams like Fairfield coming to play?
Yeah, so our home games are, well, spring is a tough one because it is usually very cold, especially in the beginning of the season. So we get a much bigger crowd during conference, which is nice because it's April and May then, so it's a lot better. But yeah, it's really exciting. Our girls, like I said, they get really hyped up in the locker room. They walk down to our field together, and they have they always have like little things in their hands. Sometimes they'll carry a flag. We have our music, our pre-music warm up going on, and it's just like we try to keep it very lighthearted and fun on the field, especially pre-game. And then in the stands, our parents and our families that come and support us, we have a really great support system. So our stands are always full of that. Even when it's last year, I think it rained almost every game, every home game, it seemed like. So even then, they're in the stands. And then after, we have a great tailgate that we always celebrate because we want to celebrate the things that they're doing on that field, win or lose. We want to celebrate that we get to do that. We get to be there, and that's something that we celebrate.
What is that away atmosphere like when going to teams like St. Joseph of Maine?
Yeah, so and when we have to travel far, it can be like exhausting to be honest. And so getting on that bus and taking a long bus ride, like I said, a lot of the girls will do homework on the bus, and because they are student athletes, right? That's really important. Um, and then once we get there, you kind of turn off the outside world where we always request that locker room, so they get really hyped in the locker room. And then when we get out there, we're making sure that we're putting our best foot forward and making sure we're making the Valiants proud. And that's making sure that we come with a lot of high energy. It could be really daunting when you go to someone else's field. So you want to come out with really high energy from the top, and especially on the bench too, like making sure that we are like a high energy top to bottom, top to bottom.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes? And as a coach and alma mater, what do you look at in those prospective student athletes?
Yeah, so I would say at the core, I obviously look for lacrosse knowledge and talent, and grit is a big one. Someone who's going to go after that extra ground ball or that extra rep or that extra pass, or they see their teammate struggling, they pop out wider for them and they help them through it, they direct them through it. But also at the end of the day, like if you want to be there, it shows, and if you want to be there, I want you there. And that's the biggest piece that I look for, is someone who genuinely is enjoying what they're doing and wants to be there, because we can make you a better lacrosse player, but we can't make you want to be there and want to experience what it takes to be a part of a team.
How's it like getting to see them fall in love with the campus and the lacrosse facility?
Yeah, so I one of my favorite things is seeing girls like accomplish something that they haven't accomplished before, or seeing their face light up. Like one of my favorite things is seeing freshmen, or even when they're upperclassmen, maybe a defender who's never seen the offensive side of the field, they score their first goal and the whole team comes together and gives them a big hug and all that. You could really see the joy and them falling in love with the sport and what we have going on and each other. And that is some of my favorite moments, is just seeing the joy on each other's faces when you recognize someone else doing something great. And we're really lucky here where we get to do a lot of different stuff. We have an indoor facility, which is awesome. So we have a bubble that goes up over the wintertime. So we're always playing like little games. We're doing stuff that kind of has an inter-team competition aspect of it, but seeing them compete and like really want to like compete against each other, and they push each other to be better, even if we're playing like minute to win it games. They love doing that too. Just seeing the joy that comes from being together and working towards something is something that is what makes coaching worth it.
As a head coach and alma mater, what is it like seeing those freshmen put on that uniform for the first time representing Manhattan?
It is really special and exciting. And I keep saying the word special, but that's the only word I know to describe it. But for me, it makes me proud, also because obviously as an alum, I remember that feeling and I experienced that feeling as well. So it feels like we have a special bond that not every coach can share with their players as well. So um, it's just really exciting and special, and it makes me proud to be there still and proud to be a part of it as well.
How is it like getting to see them put it on for the last time as seniors?
Oh, it is very sad. And it's the opposite emotion. It's bittersweet at the same time, because you know that they gave it everything, and especially our recent grads coming out of this program, they really have given this program everything. Like obviously going through a global pandemic, playing a collegiate sport is not easy. So being able to stick with it, and if you made it to the end, that's something that is I'm so proud of them for. So usually it's like a big hug on senior day, and a thank you to their parents too, and their guardians, and who makes it possible as well, because it's not just the athlete, it's the village behind them too.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing them put on that last uniform as players and their first coaching uniform when they get into college coaching?
Yeah, so I actually had a player, one of my very best players, my first season. She ended up going on to coach collegiately as an assistant, and when we played them, she was the assistant on the sideline on the other bench. So it was really exciting to see, and really it just makes you proud that they want to be part of the game still. Having especially young women in coaching and young women who want to push forward women's lacrosse in general is something that you feel part of it because it's like they loved their time so much that they want to keep it going and they want to be a part of the game even more still. So it makes me super proud and we it was a really tough game and so she did a really great job coaching them. Um and so yeah, it's been really great to watch them kind of move on to the next chapter of their life too.
What have been some of the things that you've been able to accomplish so far as head coach?
Yeah, so as head coach, I had this past season, I had my first ECAC all region player, which was really awesome. That's a really big honor for our player, and mostly that was Colleen's work as a student athlete. But trying to get the best out of her is something that we worked really hard with. And my first season, we were D3. We were the statistical champion for Division 3. We had the most cause turnovers per game, which is, I like a defensive stat. I think it's really hard to get defensive stats. So having defensive stats is really cool. And then we've also accomplished the most wins in program history in the past, not this past season, but the season before. So that was really special. That was something that I felt really, really proud of as the leader of this program. And something that we look forward to is we've been in the playoffs. And so we want to get back to the playoffs. Playoffs is no longer necessarily an accomplishment. I mean, it is, but it is kind of the standard now. And so we want to win our conference. And that's something that we're looking forward to.
What would you tell your younger self now, looking back on your career and being a head coach at your alma mater?
Yeah, I don't think my younger self ever saw this ever happening. My younger self thought I was going to be like a lawyer or something. But yeah, I think I would tell myself to just everything will work out, right? Because I've had a lot of ups and downs and like a lot of moments where I was like, I'm pivoting. I'm pivoting right now. And so knowing that it's okay to pivot and it's okay to chase something that you thought you wanted, and then it's okay to actually go for something that you know you want too. So um I know that's kind of a roundabout answer, but yeah, my I would say my younger self would have no idea that I was going to be doing something like this. I've been playing lacrosse a very long time since I was in fourth grade, so it's kind of surreal to see this actualized as my career now.
What are some of your future plans for the program moving forward?
Yeah, so it is always on our radar. We want to win our conference. We want to get to our conference championship, and that's definitely something that is our goal in the next couple years. We're also pretty small. I inherited a small roster, and we're a pretty small roster right now. So um, to grow our roster, to grow that family, to grow us as a program, so that we continue to get better, and those are the two that I would say the two main goals, because we have a pretty solid foundation now of like who we are and who we want to be, and now it's going for the wins now.
What advice would you give those incoming freshmen entering their first year of college lacrosse?
Yeah, my biggest advice is to just try. Like I always say to our our girls, it's cool to care. It's cool to care about the little things. It's cool to care about the big things. And it's cool to care about each other. So you may not always be best friends with everyone on your team, but you have to support and respect each other unwaveringly. And it's cool to care about each other.
What advice would you give those college juniors transitioning into being seniors and leading the program?
Yeah, so it can be really daunting when you have all these great leaders before you, and then all of a sudden you're like, you blink and you're the senior, and you're like, oh my God, what's happening? But I would say my biggest advice and what I tell our girls right now is think of all the leaders that you've had in your life or your sports, because when you're a college junior, you've been doing it for a long time now. So you have a lot of leaders to kind of pull back from. And what did you like about them? What did you not like about them? And kind of mold yourself into crosshairs of like what you would have liked from them and what you liked from them. And that will help you to kind of determine what kind of leader you would like to be.
What advice would you give those college athletes out there looking to play professional lacrosse, whether it's Athletes Unlimited or the national team?
Yeah, so lacrosse is one of the fastest growing sports, especially women's lacrosse, and it's so exciting to see. And um, for young athletes, the more that you play, the better you're going to get. So picking up, going to camps, going to clinics, playing on a club team. Unfortunately, the club scene is a massive part of women's lacrosse right now, and so you putting in all those extra time and that extra hour is what going to make you better, because athletes are going to make good lacrosse players. And what differentiates just a good lacrosse player from a great one is the stick part of it. So work on the stick skills and work on being creative with those stick skills too.
What advice would you give those players looking to get into coaching after their playing career?
Yeah, so if you're looking to get into coaching, talk to your coach. They are in it. So making sure that you talk to your coach and ask them questions, ask them what they like about it, what they don't like about it. And I think a lot of student athletes, they think, oh, a coach, what does she do? She just goes to practice and then she sits and watches TV all day, or I don't know. But there's a lot that goes into it actually, and knowing the reality of it is something that I would encourage everyone who thinks they want to go into coaching to explore, because you have to love it and you have to put a lot of time and effort and hours into it. So it's something that was something that I would really encourage student athletes who think they might want to be get into collegiate coaching to do is talk to their coach and see what they like and what they don't like about it, and whether you think that you would fit into that.
What advice would you give those players looking to coach at their alma mater like you have?
Yeah, so I think we talked about this kind of before. When you coach at your alma mater, you see how the sausage is made. You see all of the good things that you loved as a student. You also see all of the not so great things, because at every place there's good and there's bad. So you have to be able to kind of push your true, like, you're gonna love that place and you're gonna love that program so much. Sometimes you have to remind yourself that um it's not always going to go the way that you want it to go. And that's really tough pill to swallow, especially when you love the program so much. And um, that's definitely something that was really tough for me to swallow coming back. It's like, but I want to do this and I want to do that. And that's not always the reality of coaching, of any job, really. You can't always do exactly how you want it when you want it. So being able to balance that of like, yeah, you love this program and that passion, that love for it is gonna make it better. But also don't let it debilitate you. And sometimes I'm like, it puts me in a bad mood. And I have to remind myself, hey, this is also just a program. I know you love the Valiants, but it's just a program too sometimes.
What advice would you give those future head coaches looking to build their own program and build their own legacy?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing too is to set boundaries within yourself too. Like coaching is so, especially at Division 3 level, especially at a small liberal arts school, it is very all in. So you're not just their coach. You're giving them life advice. You're also their academic advisor. You're also all you help them with so many different things that are not just lacrosse related. So understanding that you need boundaries too, and you need time to really work on yourself as a person. Because if you invest everything into your program, yeah, you should invest a lot, mostly everything into your program. But if you don't save anything for yourself, you're going to get burnt out really quickly. So setting boundaries and making sure that keep that passion and that purpose that you have alive while still kind of balancing who you are and your own life as well.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you on social media along with the program?
Yeah, so you can follow Valiants Women's Lacrosse at Valiants WLAX on Instagram. Um, and I post a lot through there as well. And I don't have any personal coaching social media. I think that's something that with this world, how this world's going to go, I need to start investing in. But definitely follow us on Instagram. That's where we post most of our stuff. We're also on X as well as Valiants WLAX.
Thank you again, Coach, for your interview and best of luck in your future.
Thank you. Thanks, Brandon.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again for your interview and best of luck in your future.
Thanks.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.